The car next to me needs almost no introduction, but for the sake of the video, I'm gonna give it one. This is the 2024 Mazda 3 Sedan in the fully loaded GT trim. This is as fully loaded as the Mazda 3 can come, and let me tell you right now, it's been an absolute pleasure to drive around in it for a week. I'm James, this is Test Drive, and today I'm going to show you absolutely everything that you need to know if you're in the market for one of these super affordable Mazda 3 sedans. Let's get started. So as usual, let's take a look first under the hood. We have a 2.5 liter inline 4 Sky Active G turbo Mazda engine that's going to give us 250 horsepower and 320 pound-feet of torque. That is the max output for this Mazda 3 engine, but to get that you need to fuel it with 93 octane fuel. So you do have to spend a little bit more to get the max output. If you don't and you put regular gas, you're gonna get 227 horsepower, 310 pound-feet of torque, which really isn't terrible, but it's just something I feel like you should know. Now, if the fast engine wasn't good enough, well, we also get to test this week Mazda's iActive all-wheel drive system that this comes included with. You don't have to get that. You can option a front-wheel drive version and you can option a lower engine if you wanna save money. But for this time, we've got the fully loaded and I'm taking advantage of it. We've also got a 6-speed automatic transmission. There was no manual option for the Mazda 3 Sedan this time around. Personally, I'm okay with that this time. So there you have it. There's the specs, the numbers, and everything in between out of the way. Let me take you on a full exterior tour, then we're gonna get to the interior, and then of course, we're taking it on a test drive. Let's go. All right, so as usual, we are up front with the Mazda 3. I really like this front end. Not a whole lot has changed over the years, but if it's not broken, why fix it? I like these chrome accents here. I also like these nice daytime running LEDs. They're circular, iconic Mazda that we're used to seeing on a lot of their vehicles, so we like that. There isn't really anything in terms of fog lights, but I do like this front grille here. I also like this big Mazda emblem that has a front-facing camera. We also get parking sensors, because like I said, this is the fully upgraded version of the Mazda 3, so that's very nice to have. I like the way it looks, very sporty, very aggressive, and you know, it is a car that you see in traffic a lot. Like this version, you see it a lot. You see the body style a lot. The GT trim doesn't really change all that much, but I still like it. I still think it's very nice to look at, and it would be very nice to own. So next up, we have the side profile for the Mazda 3. You can see how low the ride height really is, but surprisingly, it's not hard to get in or out of. It's very, very easy, and I actually really like that. And there's a little bit of chrome here that I don't mind too much, but I mean, a quick little chrome delete would look really good, especially with the black rims. Now, the black rims with the white paint look fantastic in person, but on the camera, it's just not doing it justice. It's not coming through. I tried to jet the wheels out a little bit so that you can see it, but I don't know how well it's coming. But trust me, in person, if you look at one in person, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. It looks very nice. I like this little black bar on the bottom too. It is white, so the dirt is gonna get to it, especially in the winter. Even if you just wash the car before filming and you drive on the roads, you're gonna get dirt. That's just kind of what happens with white cars. But overall, very, very nice. I like these mirrors too. They actually have a little fold down feature. When you put the car in reverse, it'll fold down the mirror so you can see. That is a nice little luxury feature that I wasn't expecting to see on the Mazda 3, but I'm glad it's there. There's a little sensor for the one-touch lock and unlock buttons, as well as if you slot your hand in with the key fob in, that will unlock it. So far, haven't had any freezing rain, really haven't had any snow, other than the ice that's already on the ground, so sensors worked for me, no problem to lock it, and of course to unlock it, no problems there as well. So yeah, I really like the side profile. You can really see the sedanness of it. I feel like if I had to choose between the sedan or the hatchback, I think the sedan looks a little bit more sharper, but that is all down to personal opinion. You could love the sedan, you could love the hatchback just as much, and that's fine too. They're both really good. All right, last but certainly not least, we have the rear for the Mazda 3 Sedan. Now, we have these nice iconic taillights with the circles. I like them. You know, it hasn't changed much, but I love to look at them in traffic. I've always admired these taillights. Very nice design choice. And again, it's not broken, so why change it? We like that. We also have a rear-facing camera right where this emblem is. It is very high quality. The cameras, the front-facing ones, the side ones, the 360 versions, they're all really high quality in the daytime and at night, so we love to see that. We also have the Sky Active G Turbo badge, and we have the Mazda 3 all-wheel drive. So full of badges here in the back, again, that we like to see. And then if we get a little bit lower here on the car, we have these nice widened exhaust for this kind of trim too. For the turbo stuff, you kind of get a nicer exhaust. Now there isn't a lot of sound that comes out, but again, it's not really what you're going for this car for. I mean, we're lucky. I feel like we're very lucky to even get as much horsepower as we're getting. It's surprising. It's almost like a sleeper, kind of how fast it can, it can really get up to speed. You'll see that when we take it to a drive. So I'm not really expecting a whole lot of noise, but I do like the widened exhaust tips that we have back here. They look very cool. So next, let's check out the trunk space. Got a little button under here. It pops the trunk for you. And then we have quite a bit of space. We also have a little Mazda3 logoed mat in there, which of course I like. You can fold the seats down, have even more space. So this is like not like a super big sedan, like it's not on the bigger side. It is more on the compact side of things, but I do think we might have more trunk space here than maybe the hatchback, at least when you're talking about lengthwise. Maybe not height-wise, because the hatchback kind of can open up in a different way, but I actually prefer this trunk configuration. Very nice, lots of room. I like that. Let's hop in the interior. So here I am now in the rear seats of the Mazda 3, and since it's the sedan, I feel like I might have a little bit more room. I'm not sure. I haven't actually driven the hatchback. You'll have to check Victor's video out for that. He actually drove the manual one, but I have room, but not a lot. I have just enough where it's not really uncomfortable and extremely hard to get in or out of. The back of the driver's seat is like a little bit like I can push a little bit with my knees and I can kind of go in, and I do have just enough space for my feet underneath the driver's seat, which is nice. I do have enough headroom too. I got a good view of the sunroof. The thing that I find weird, this is the top trim of the Mazda, and I don't have like any USB charging or any vents back here or anything. Obviously, at the top trim of a Mazda, or even paying like 40K plus, I would like to see maybe heated seats, or at minimum, give me some ports back here. That would be good if they want to do that for 24 or 25 later on. But overall, it's comfortable. I'm very comfortable in these seats. Like I said, headroom's very good. I like the look of it back here. I like the look of the red seats, obviously. We also have this that's gonna fold down for us right here. Nice and red, cup holders, little armrest too. Now, I probably wouldn't do a long road trip in here. A short road trip would probably have to suffice. But again, if you have like small children, stuff like that, it's probably not going to be a problem. But hauling around grown adults for a long time might be a little bit uncomfortable for them, but not crazy. It's very borderline, but it's not hard to get in or out of, and that's pretty good news for a sedan. So that's nice. Let's hop in the business end. Let's check it up front. All right, so now we are in the front seat, the driver's seat, the business end of the Mazda 3. My favorite place to spend time. It's been my favorite place to spend time all week. I like this nice steering wheel. I find everything in here very usable. I like the leather wrap steering wheel. Feels very good in my hands. It's plenty big enough. It is more on the big side, which I like. And then we have also some paddle shifters that come with the GT trim and stuff like that. So hard to complain there. Very nice. I like it. Also, I like the way that the seats feel. I'll talk a little bit more about that when we actually take it for a drive. On my left-hand side, I have a button to quickly access my 360-degree cameras. I also have traction control off. I also have parking sensors, and I even have 2 settings of memory seating for this, which is also absolutely fantastic. Again, something I didn't expect to see on the Mazda 3 here, but very glad that it is here. So we have a very good mix of digital and analog for our driver's gauge cluster. Half of it's digital, half of it's analog. I really like that. So basically the middle is all digital, where you can kind of change a few things. You kind of see different settings. You can kind of have a couple of different views that you can get on that, which I like. But I think it looks clean. It doesn't look dated, which is very cool. Because usually when manufacturers do that, I usually find it a little bit dated, like just make the whole thing digital. But in this case, the way that Mazda has gone about it, it looks very clean and very nice. I actually really liked it. It's grown on me quite a bit. Now let's move over to the infotainment display. It is a genuine touchscreen, although it is very far, so you're never going to really want to touch it because of the placement of it. So you're going to have this little knob down here that you're going to use. That is actually pretty good. Usually I don't like not being able to touch the touchscreen. At least Mazda has given me that option. If I absolutely hate this knob, I can touch the touchscreen. So very good job, very happy. And it's not a trackpad. The trackpads are brutal in any car, but it looks like Mazda is going to stick with this because their 2025 CX-70, I think, that they just came out with, is going to be with this little knob. I've seen it. So they're committed to the knob, so we might as well get used to it, but it's not a bad thing because it's actually very easy to use. It's actually quite good to use while you're driving. It's not very distracting at all. It's very quick. Once you get the hang of it, you've got it. Very simple. Lots of quick access buttons for your infotainment. We've got wireless Apple CarPlay, wireless Android Auto. We've got built-in navigation for this one. We've got Bluetooth settings, a whole bunch of other stuff, but it's a very basic infotainment. There's not a whole bunch of overwhelming settings. It's just very cut and dry, and I like that. Now, if we just drop below the infotainment, there's this nice black leather stitching that I like with the red stitching in it, actually. I like the feel of all these materials in here. It doesn't feel cheap. It feels luxurious. It feels premium, and I really like that because the price here is pretty good. And you know, that's kind of what Mazda's going for. And I think even in the lower trims, because yes, I do have the highest version, but I think even in the lower trims, I don't think you're compromising too much. I still think it'll feel pretty premium. And we also get dual zone automatic climate control, a bunch of physical buttons, which you know I like, heated steering, heated seats for the driver and the passenger. We've also got power adjusted seats, which is another thing to mention. I've got a wireless charging pad, 2 cup holders like standard, just a plain old gear shifter, which we don't see too much nowadays. It's always like these buttons and stuff, so I'm glad I have that. I do have a drive mode selector. It's either sport, on or off. That's it. There's no other modes besides that, which again, can't complain. Very simple. Then, like I said, we have the knob, we have the volume controls. Everything's very easy to access in here, and I like that. Then we have this kind of center console that can slide back to just give you access to your 2 USB-C ports, and then you can open it as well, and that's fine too. Plenty of storage in there. And then, of course, the red seats. The overall design in here is just so nice. I got a Bose premium speaker in here, very nice subwoofer, very nice sounding. There's a lot of things in here that I wasn't expecting to have, but I'm so glad that I do. And I think Mazda nailed it on the head with this thing. It's very affordable, feels very premium on the interior, but the one thing that I haven't told you about is how it drives. So I'm really excited to get to that because it's just as good as the rest, believe it or not. So let's take it on a test drive. Let's go. All right, so here we are now on the road with the 2024 Mazda 3 Sedan. And, you know, I've had this car a week so far, and it's been really, really comfortable, really, really good, and everything has felt extremely premium. And I think that's been my favorite part, is that this car, as tested, is around the $40,000 Canadian price point, which is pretty good. I mean, yeah, you're gonna add on some taxes, and it's probably gonna go up, especially with the Quebec taxes, but still, I feel like you get a lot of features for that $40K, and nowadays, like, cars are just so expensive, and you know, maybe you won't get as much with other brands, but I feel like Mazda's hit it on the nose with what you get and everything like that, because we have the turbo, we have the all-wheel drive, we have stuff like usually you don't see, or you see it, but it's like much more expensive, and I really love that Mazda's made an effort here to kind of keep things right and nice and cheap. So as I mentioned in the beginning, there is 2 different horsepower torque specs, one with you know, the regular gas, and then the other one with the premium gas. If you put that in, you know, it doesn't make that much of a difference. I did put some premium gas in just to kind of see if it did make any difference, so I'll give it the guns here. You know, I don't notice anything really, but the one thing that I do notice, whether I'm regular gas or premium gas in the tank, this power delivery for this Mazda is so good. It is such a smooth acceleration and a smooth ride during that acceleration. It is very, very comfortable. Like, you don't want something that's gonna absolutely, like, you know, blow your mind out, because it's really not, first of all, it's not really priced for that, and you know, it's just above like 250 horsepower, so it's like, okay, the turbo does very good. There isn't very much lag at all, which is very nice. I have manual paddle shifters if I want to get fun and sporty with it, but you know, you don't have to, because like just accelerating to go on the highway is so smooth. Passing slower traffic on the highway is so smooth. Like, everybody that I've driven this car with in the passenger seat, as soon as you start to accelerate, they're like, wow, that's smooth. Like, wow, that's really good. And I've driven a Mazda in the past. Like, I've driven like the Mazda 3, I think it was probably like 2020, 2021, and it was the hatchback version, very base model, and it was the first Mazda I had ever driven, and even then I said, wow, this power delivery is really good, and I really wasn't expecting it to be that. Now that I was expecting it to be that, because I've driven a Mazda in 2020, it's definitely right there, if not just a little bit better. It's so good. The handling is also very good in sport mode. We really only have 2 options for 2024 in the Mazda 3. We have either sport mode on or off. That's it. So I'm assuming that the computer and stuff will adjust the way that the all-wheel drive system behaves based off wheel slippage, but the iActive system is very, very good. I like it a lot. Haven't had any like really deep snow, a little bit of ice here and there, but really no slipping or things that would really make me slip to really test the all-wheel drive system. But the fact that it's there gives you that confidence. That's why I just like it. And also, nowadays for $40,000, are you really going to find a sedan that's this loaded, that has all-wheel drive? and not have to go to an SUV, because there's still people out there that want sedans. There's still people out there that do not like SUVs, and that's completely fine, but it's hard to find an all-wheel drive version that doesn't cost a boatload of money. And I think Mazda has really filled the gap in that market, and I'm proud they did, because this is a really solid choice. So let's quickly talk about fuel economy. Mazda rates it at an 8.8 liters per 100 kilometers. That is on the piece of paper that they sent over to me, but I'm really getting about 9.7. So it's not too far off. And yes, I have been pushing it. I really haven't been, driving to save fuel at all. I'm also been driving in sport mode a lot because I'm testing the vehicle, and sport mode in the Mazda 3 is actually quite fun to use. So, it's not bad. And I don't really think that the missing horsepower, you're really going to notice it, because I just filled with premium, and I'm really not noticing that much of a difference. I mean, maybe like on paper or on like a time lap or something, maybe then is when you're going to notice the little jumps or in horsepower, but just driving normally, I can't tell the difference. I really can't. Now, as I mentioned, there is no like drive modes or like ride quality modes. So ride quality is basically static, whether you're in sport mode or comfort mode. I don't really feel the suspension changing that much, but it's good because it doesn't need to. The suspension is pretty good for a sedan. I've ridden other sedans that are pretty brutal with the suspension and the ride quality. This, yes, when you go over big bumps, you are going to feel them just a bit more than you would like an SUV, but it's normal. We're in a sedan. We're a little bit lower to the ground, a little bit of a lower profile of tire. So all that makes sense, but still, Mazda's done a good job at fighting it the best way they can. They've used all the tools in their toolbox, and I'm comfortable, and so is every single other passenger that I've bought in here. It's very, very comfortable, and it's just kind of like, it's peppy, which I like. Like, I can just like, it's comfortable and peppy. It's like very good mix, a very, very good mix. It feels premium, and that's what I keep going back to. It's the word I keep going back to. It feels premium without necessarily costing so premium. Like, we're not approaching the 50, the 60Ks. It's good. It's really nice. Now, I still think some of you will probably complain about the price point, or say that I'm saying that $40,000 is still expensive. And maybe you're not wrong. And there is things that, like, there's little things that obviously you'd like to see, maybe at the top trim, because this is the GT trim, we have everything loaded. Maybe ventilated seats would be nice to see. Maybe, an automatic or a panoramic sunroof would be nice to see, or like maybe power folding mirrors. All that stuff would like match a top trim. But like, at the same time, if you're cost saving, and I feel like Mazda's doing that to the best of their ability, because they have to kind of keep up with the market. Everything's getting more expensive, so naturally even the most cheap Mazdas are going to get more expensive. I think there's little things that, like, okay, convenience features that at the top trim would be nice to see, but they're not necessities necessarily. And look, I just think that, like, if you don't need the top trim, you don't need all-wheel drive, you don't need these red leather seats, you don't need like all the fancy stuff that my model came with, well, then you can drop it a little bit. You can just go with a basic engine, 191 horsepower, still not that bad for a sedan, and the power delivery is probably still very solid in those trims. And then you can get the car for like 35,000, 32,000, and it's like, that's why you see so many of them in traffic. That's why they're around, because they're very, very affordable, and they're also spacious. You're not stuck with like a little hatchback thing. They're pretty spacious, and they're affordable, and that's the market gap that I think Mazda is like absolutely in, and they're probably one of the best in that market. So yeah, final thoughts are, it's a really, really great sedan to drive around. Very, very good daily driver, especially if you want it fully loaded. It's like, from the outside, it doesn't look like, okay, I have the full GT trim, but from the inside and from the power delivery, I know what I would have bought, and I know what I have, and that's important. And I think Mazda owners that do get the top trim will be very, very, very pleased with their choice. And even if you don't, it still looks nice. You still get a lot of the same looks in the lower trims. Maybe you don't get the red leather, but again, that's all preference, and also budget. So there's that too, but it's just solid. Power delivery is great, smooth ride, smooth acceleration, pretty good fuel economy, not terrible at all, and just an overall great daily driver. I like it. I would if I was in the market for a sedan that didn't cost me a lot, but was that kind of fast, kind of had a little bit of a pep to it, wasn't too boring, the Mazda 3 would be definitely on top of that list now, especially now being able to drive it. I prefer the sedan over the hatchback version, just personality wise, but I do see a lot of hatchbacks, and I don't see that many sedans around me in Quebec, so that might be saying something about the Quebec market. But there you go. I'm gonna go ahead and leave it there. Make sure you subscribe, and if you really want to help us out, like the video and then go watch another one. We have a bunch of different hosts, so if you want a different opinion, you want a different voice, we've got that here. right on PRN. We've got literally everything there is for the car market. We're trying to get our hands on every single new car that we can so that we can help you make that ever more difficult buying decision. So make sure you subscribe, like. I will see you in the next week. See you in the next car. Take care.